This is just another attempt by the Catholic Church to change history. I recently watched a special called How Nero Saved Rome on National Geographic, which made the insane claim that maybe the Christians set fire to the city and Nero had every right to burn them alive. They also claimed that Nero was ahead of his time and might have built all these large palaces for the people, even though they have no evidence to back this up. Now, along with this, we have websites like this for children, historyforkids.org, which contains some of the most disturbing lies and statements I have ever seen. Remember, this is a website used by teachers as a teaching tool and run by professors from respected schools, like the University of Michigan, which really ticks me off because I have long been a University of Michigan football fan. Denard Robinson is by far my favorite player right now. But anyways, if you watched my video on former Illuminati and read the articles by Svali, she specifically mentioned Ann Arbor as an Illuminati stronghold, which is where the University of Michigan is located. This History for Kids website is translated in many languages, and they say that 4.5 million pages are viewed on their website every month, mostly by children and teenagers. What do they say about Nero's fire? They say that Nero didn't do it, but was falsely accused of it because Nero announced that he was going to take a lot of the land where buildings had burned down and build himself a great big new palace there called the Golden House. And Nero needed to find someone else to blame fast. So Nero thought of the Christians. By this time, people had learned that Christians were different from Jews. Yes, this website actually says this, and I will link it to you. It goes on to say, many people hated the Christians anyways, so they wouldn't mind blaming them. They hated them mainly because they were different and because they tried to get other people to become Christians too. So Nero arrested a bunch of Christians. He blamed the fire on them and had them burned alive. This is what they are teaching our children. In my Illuminati Proof 4 series, I showed you exactly what Roman historians said about those who called themselves Jews and were bankers whom infiltrated the Roman Empire. These Roman historians were not Christians, yet they exposed these lies that everybody hated Christians. The first century Christians were pacifists, and the Roman historians were horrified by Nero's actions and called him an enemy of mankind. This is what you are looking at when you talk about the Illuminati. It is Ashkenazi Khazars, whom were rich from having sacked Babylon, infiltrating and creating the last true world power, the Holy Roman Empire with Roman nobility. This is why they want to change all history that points to this before they were in complete control. The Roman Catholic Church burned anybody alive as a heretic whom questioned their version of history, and burn any book that questioned their authority as heresy. They claimed to hold the keys to heaven, and people believed them, and if they didn't believe them, fear kept them from speaking up. The Ashkenazi took the identity of Jews to make people question the Old Testament. The pseudo-Jewish bankers are the front of the money, and they are supposed to be easily visible, while the real power lies in private banks and organizations in countries like Switzerland and Vatican City. The Catholic Church and Vatican are strictly Luciferian at the heart, and you are about to learn where all this symbolism comes from. In the television special I referred to, How Nero Saved Rome, they show you exactly what the Golden Palace looked like. This special was created by Gianni Ponti, who works for IES Abroad, and they are an academic consortium of more than 175 leading U.S. colleges and universities from all around the world. If you look at the official Vatican website, you will see the professors and academians who are part of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. Who will you find there? Stephen Hawking. If you have watched my series on Nikola Tesla, you know exactly what I think of Hawking. In his new theory and controversial book, he has taken the whole universe and made it ether or God's firmament, which is exactly what Nikola Tesla and the Bible said space was. The problem? He is still using Einstein's erroneous theories, which were created with the idea that the ether didn't exist. To even call Stephen Hawking a scientist is an insult to real scientists like Nikola Tesla, who actually achieved something with what Stephen Hawking would call his genius. Hawking is just a spokesman for the Roman Catholic Empire, and are all these members of the pontificate. If you look under the Vatican website on pontifical councils, you will see promoting Christian unity and the Commission for Religious Relations with the Jews. This is who runs the world, and they are pretending to represent Christianity and the Torah so they can make both look bad and eventually destroy it and usher in their golden age and golden dawn. Now back to Nero's Golden Palace. In these 3D models from the National Geographic TV special, we see the layout of the Golden Palace that was built on the property consumed in the fires of 64 AD. As I said before, this was the largest Roman palace ever built. You're only looking at a part of it here. The building here is the octagonal room, and we will get into it in a second. Notice the gardens. This design was found throughout Nero's palace. You may think it looks familiar. That is because it is the Union Jack and British flag. And as I have shown you before, it is also visible in the modern Vatican courtyard, along with the obelisk representing the male, and it has been speculated that this Union Jack design is actually the female and a sun wheel. Now the inside of this octagonal room. The sun is let in through the top of the building in a circular opening called the oculus, or the eye. This design was copied for a building which you can still visit in Rome, and we will get into that in a second. Here we are looking at a statue of Sol Invictus, the sun god. The headdress should look familiar, as it is on our Statue of Liberty. They even have the same number of sun rays coming out of their head, 7 to be exact. Here we are looking at Nero's lake. Now this lake was later built upon by the next dynasty. It became another famous monument, the Colosseum. The Colosseum was originally named the Flavian Amphitheater, after the next dynasty that ruled. The Colossus was kept from Nero's reign, though, and it was placed in front of the stadium, and that is how we get the modern name of the Colosseum. Some historians claim that this statue was only later converted into a depiction of the sun god. Yet, with all the other sun symbolism prevalent in Nero's Golden Palace, I think it's safe to say that they are wrong. Not to mention, the sun god is holding the world in his hands. This statue remained standing well into the medieval era and was credited with magical powers. Eventually, it was taken down and the metal was reused. Also worth of mention in this TV program, How Nero Saved Rome, is that the artist went into Nero's buried palace to copy the art on the walls and put it on the Vatican walls. Now I mentioned that Rome has a building which still stands and that you can visit that mimics the octagonal room in Nero's palace. This building is called the Pantheon, which means a house for all the gods, and the dome of the Pantheon is exactly like Nero's octagonal room. It may be a house to all the gods, but it worships one above all the others, Lucifer. The same oculus or eye is present at the top, and on Pentecost, which is just another pagan holiday masquerading as Christianity, they drop flowers from the top, just like they did in Nero's time. This is a tribute to Flora, goddess of love, and I will link you an article explaining it to you.